Gentle Anchor Podcast, conversations that steady the heart. Hosted by a mother and son, this podcast explores what it means to speak honestly across generations. No topic is too tender, just real conversations. Michelle and Noah speak with honesty, curiosity, and zero taboo. It's not about giving advice or solving problems. It's about showing up with openness, listening deeply, and being emotionally available. Whether you're a parent, a young adult, or simply someone learning to listen more bravely, you're welcome here. Gentle disclaimer. This podcast is a space for personal reflection, honest conversation, and emotional curiosity, not professional advice. Michelle and Noah aren't therapists, just a mother and son exploring what feels true in their own lives. What they share is rooted in personal experience, and they trust listeners to take what resonates and leave the rest. Stay anchored in your own truth.
Hey, how's it going? This is Michelle.
And I'm Noah.
And this is Gentle Anchor. We're glad you're here. Hope you enjoy having some fun with us today. Got a good episode in. Hey, Noah, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Okay. So,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're just going to get started. We're glad all our listeners are with us. We're going to start with that little drift check, vibe and see how we're both doing. So, how you doing, bud?
No, I'm pretty good. Yeah, nothing too crazy. Just been staying super busy. So for a lot of our listeners out there, one of the things that I feel like is going to become a big topic, especially through these drift checks, is my weekly day-to-day stuff. And with just the experiences that I'm going through right now in this transition period of my life. Currently, I'm starting my first year as an athletic training student for my grad program. So that's super cool. First of all, I'm super excited for it, but
Me too.
it starts next week. So I'm getting a little nervous for it, but we should be good. I just started my first clinical rotation this last week. So clocked about 30 hours this last week. So
Wow.
yeah.
Crazy
So
busy kid.
yes, I am. And then this week we should have about 25 hours to 30 hours again. So it'll be busy, but I'm super excited. So that's where I'm at. How are you?
I'm good. I'm getting ready for this. Next week is gonna be kind of chill, and my birthday's next weekend, so that's kind of cool.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Get to go spend some time with a friend, get away. But after that, I get into doing a new job, which is I'm going to be adjunct teaching for a local college here where I live. And just so you all know, Noah and I are in different states. Noah is, I'm on the West Coast, Noah's in the Midwest. So we are not in the same area, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So anyway, and I'm sure that'll become kind of topic of stuff because our relationship is about the close bond that we have and we miss each other a lot. So
yeah, it's kind of the whole point of this podcast is just to kind of explain to you guys like the navigation aspect of, building that relationship and how, to maintain those healthy relationships and whatnot. And just the, as from the name, how to anchor ourselves in that gentle parenting aspect and just vice versa from my point of view to her and stuff like that.
Yep.
So
true. Yeah. So, so the drift check is something that we'll probably try to do each episode and just where Noah and I kind of check in with each other and make sure that we're doing pretty good. So
it also has the possibility of like leading into what the episode could be and stuff like that. Sometimes it might be super random, but other than that, it'll flip flop.
Yep, exactly. We're going to kind of get into what this episode is about. Basically, we just wanted to introduce ourselves to you guys and then kind of, like Noah said, give you an idea of what we plan for this podcast and how it's going to go and stuff. I'm going to let Noah start.
Yeah. So again, hey, everybody. Thanks for listening in. This episode, as she was saying, is just an introductory episode, kind of talking about why we want to do this, how we're going to navigate this podcast, what you guys can expect from us, and just kind of who we are as individuals and who we are, as mother and son. Just setting boundaries is something that this episode is going to cover. Just how we have managed to build such a wonderful relationship over the last 21 years. I forgot that my birthday.
21,
I forgot that my birthday is in like 2 weeks.
Noah's birthday is a week after mine, which is
that is
cool.
true. So, over those last close to 21 years, and just kind of our relationship has built to something that I care for very deeply, and I, am always willing to work on and nourish because, um, in my experience, when you have a relationship that's so nurtured and cared for, one of the things you want to do is maintain that and build on that. Put the best way that I've learned to do that is by putting time and effort into it. So even though I do live far away, I still make sure to incorporate time to sustain those relationships that are, on the other side, on the West Coast, as she was saying.
Yeah.
Just with how busy we both are, we still find time, and that's something
Always.
that we're going to talk about a lot.
Yep.
So yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
this
I think,
episode and the big waters for it. So
yeah, I think that we are both really good at making sure that, like, we do try to talk every day, at least if it's not even a text, if, whatever it is, we do try to have some sort of communication every day because it's important. And, like I said, we do miss each other. So we do that and stuff. So where do you want to head to now?
I just kind of want to talk about how our relationship kind of, from the beginning all the
Okay.
way up to where we're at.
Sure.
I think that it would be smart to kind of share with our listeners
Sure.
some of those past experiences that have led to how we've managed to grow that relationship. Like I said, 21 years ago, a cool self came into the world. Started with the whole like story, and everything became happy once I was born. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you did complete our family.
I did. So that is from our aspect, that was a good happy day. So
Yep. Noah has an older sister, and it's just the two of them. And then my husband, that's our family. But
yeah.
so Noah is the youngest, and yeah, he completed us.
Would you say that me being the youngest, that there was any special treatment there, or was it very similar for your parenting style?
Hey, that's really great. That's a really good question, Noah. I would definitely say that I tried my best to make sure that you and your sister both had equal treatment and neither one of you were favored in either way. That being said, it's very different parenting boys and girls, right? So even though she was older, like I parented her differently in the aspect of her being a girl and you being a boy.
It's
Not
understandable.
not on the level of, oh, she got special treatment because she was a girl and you got special treatment because you were a boy, but just because parenting different genders is very difficult, very different.
Right.
So, you know what I mean?
It's understandable.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, I felt like a lot of it was that you did parent us very similar, but obviously, when handling those situations, it probably looked different. You wouldn't necessarily care for her the same way you would care for me in something because we reacted to things differently.
Yeah. That had a very
Right.
yep, that played a very big role. You both had different, like, personalities, right?
Right.
So, I would say you were more emotional than Tabitha was when she was littler. And so, yeah, I had to handle you different.
I felt my feelings, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so, yeah, parenting was different that way too.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of it was, for us, my sister, myself, and then to you was just navigating those boundaries that I was talking about. Some of the things were that Tabby, my older sister, would not test those boundaries as far as I would. There's a few situations that I specifically remembered that I would give a little bit more of an emotional reaction to things than Tabby would. And that's kind of one of those beginnings as to how we discovered what I could and couldn't get away with. Is
Right.
that when I was younger, I always wanted to test that.
Yeah.
And now, that, she stayed super disciplined in that. I feel that our relationship has stemmed from more of a, I'm your mother and you're my son, to I'm your mother when you need me, but I'm a friend now. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true because we talk about everything. Like, honestly and truly everything. I don't know that there's nothing in our relationship that we wouldn't talk about and feel comfortable, right?
Right.
And so I think, but like you said, there's that line of when do I need to be the friend and when do I need to be the mom? But I think that we can have a conversation like, I'm like, hey, how whatever, whatever. But when the conversation gets to the point where it needs to be me being mom, that happens very easily and naturally.
Yeah, and I've noticed that it's an automatic switch. It can go off like that, a snap,
Right.
simplistic of wow, simply, um, from, oh, we're just joking around to, okay, now we're getting into a more deep, serious conversation. Let me just flip the switch real quick and actually help you through the things that we need to talk about.
Yeah, that
You
works.
know,
Yeah, that's a really great
so
thing about that. That's true.
and for a lot of people growing up, I feel like that's something that isn't talked about a lot. Is having the open honesty and conversations that we have. There's a lot of times our house was the safe house back home. It was a place where my parents made sure to allow like all of my sisters and my friends to come in and say, "Hey, you are more than welcome here. This is your house as much as it is ours."
Yeah,
And I felt that my friends noticed that, like they took that into account and they're like, genuinely, this is a great space to be. And
I
so for her, she was not just a mom to me and my sister, but to everybody around us, which everybody absolutely adored and loved about her. So just kind
yeah.
of giving her praise there for that.
Thank
But,
you.
those boundaries, she talked about it with everybody and everything. Like, it didn't matter the conversation.
Yeah,
It was just something where if you're struggling with something, okay, cool. Like let's talk about it.
right.
Let's be honest about it. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna it wasn't I'm gonna parent you. It's no, like you need to talk. I'm here to listen.
Yep.
And
I
that's
feel
something
like
that go ahead. Go ahead.
nope, you go.
I was just saying I feel like that's something that needs to be a little bit more normalized as, something that I want to do with my kids when I get older is like
Yeah.
just having that open conversation.
I feel like anytime that your friends or Tabby's friends come into our home, they should also know that our home is a safe space, right?
Right.
So, and having, and a lot of your friends already know the relationship that we have. So I think that it's easy for them to fall into the comfort of our relationship because it's so natural, right?
Hmm.
So they're like, oh, well, if it's natural for them to have a conversation, then maybe it's more natural for me to have a conversation too,
Right.
And so I always felt like that was an invitation for them, just them feeling the ease of us.
Yeah. And I mean, I felt that I was noticed too. Like they definitely took that into account. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that a lot of my friends would be like, "Can I come over and talk?"
Yeah,
Of course,
of course.
anytime that you need it, like
Oh,
it's that's what we're here for. So turning those odd conversations into normal conversations is our biggest goal through this, and you
yeah,
guys are going to learn that nothing is out of the ordinary.
nothing.
It's just truth.
It just is.
Like, there's so many things that people would be like, "That's crazy," and
Yeah,
be like, "It should be, maybe, but it just isn't for
it's
us.
not.
It's just not. Like,
It's not.
it's just another day in our lives." So,
Yeah, exactly.
um,
I
but
think
yeah,
that was important before you get into the next thing. I think that was always the important part for me was that, especially when you were in Tabby were younger, it was okay. I have to build um, this foundation, right? This foundation of okay, I am their mom. I have to show them what it means to go through this life. But when they get older, I want to be able to have those open conversations with them. So I have to start early so that I can say, okay, hey, you know what? Like, yes, I'm your mom, but I want you to know that, like Noah said, this is a safe space. This is a safe space, and I will always be that safe space for you. And that was important to me to draw on from the beginning to take till now. And I always say it like this: I did the hard parenting when Tabby and Noah were little, so that I didn't have to do it. It didn't have to be that difficult when they got older. So there was a transition from okay, they're kids, I have to do it this way, and now they're young adults, and we can do it this way. And so it's easier now to have the open conversations because we've been building it from the beginning. Not to say that that's how it has to happen, because I think you can start it any time you want to, but I think that was just the way that it went through in my mind was, okay, if I build it now, it'll be easier when they get older.
yeah, for sure. And that's actually kind of funny you said about transitions because that was going to be my next point. So that led us right into where we're going next. So,
Hey, go
you-
mama.
so with that, would you be able to talk a little bit about the transition periods from the parent side of things? Like, so from the time that we were in elementary school to, middle school, high school, and now in college, kind of
Yeah,
like how
sure.
you managed to, work with us as we got older. And, if there was any challenges for you, from our point of view or something like that, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest transition, and I can honestly and truly say this, was actually going to school, right?
Yeah.
The first 5 years of your lives, you're home with me. And that was amazing. And I was not prepared for kindergarten. And no one knows where I'm going with this.
No.
Tabby was the first one, but she was easy. It was like, she was like, okay, mom, I'll go. Like this is this thing. And I was like, why is she so excited about this? I'm not, but I was like, I was happy because she was happy. And I still had you at home. But when you went to kindergarten, I always say that you like, and we're going to get into this the next episode, but you're such a mama's boy, right? And so when you were younger, I had a really hard time allowing anybody to babysit you or allowing anybody to, give you love or whatever that you were just so clung to me, right?
Right.
And so kindergarten came around and I knew this about you. So we put you in preschool like the year before that, like 2 hours, a day, whatever. So you get used to like being away from me. And I was like, okay, we can do this, and you went into preschool and
I love
you
preschool.
loved preschool. I
Yeah.
know. And so I was like, okay, like this is great. We're going to go into kindergarten and this kid is going to be amazing. It was not that. It was
Not at
not that.
all. You're gonna hear a lot of stories about kindergarten and just how horrendous
I
that
will,
year was.
yeah, we'll just do the quick version here. And like, I'm sure we'll get into it at
Yeah.
another time. But at the beginning, the first day Noah, I put him on the bus and he was not happy about it, but he went on the bus.
That was a disaster,
Right.
to say the
Um,
least.
and then he came home and gets off the bus and he goes, I'm never going on that bus again. And I was like, oh, no.
I refused to take the bus.
So mad. I was like, okay.
Well, they've made us wear these caps,
Yeah. So
and
they
they
knew.
dug into the side of my head so they knew where I was getting off. And that alone, like I was already had a horrible day at school,
Yep.
and then I had to wear the dang hat
Yep.
that was hurting my head. No,
No,
5-year-old me was not having a
not
good
happy
time.
about it.
Absolutely not.
No. So we were like, okay. So I was like, okay, I'll just take you to school, whatever. And so that didn't prove great either because he wouldn't let go of me.
I
And he was like,
hated that place.
I know.
Genuinely.
I know. Anyway, there's more stories about that. So that was the biggest transition. So that was really, really hard, right? And I think that the other part of that was that the kindergarten center, it was just a school of kindergartners. And then the next year you had to go to an elementary school. And that was a bigger transition. It wasn't as bad as kindergarten, but it was a bigger transition. And so that was a big transition for you. I was already kind of used to that. I would say I don't think that I really had a problem with you going to middle school because
Middle
that
school
was
seemed fine.
yeah,
Like,
that was a really
I'd been doing school for 5 years now. It was
yeah. And you were going even though it was a different school, it was not that difficult like as far as the transition.
And at that point, I got pretty good about making friends at
Yep.
that point. So
Yep.
I had a pretty good group of friends. And one thing you should know about me is like all my friends from back home, we've been friends since first grade.
Yep.
So I mean, like we stayed consistent. So that was definitely helped make that transition more smooth.
Exactly. And then high school, I think like thing about high school was and the other thing about it was that Noah was tiny growing up, like tiny. And so for me, going to high school, I was super nervous, like for him going into ninth grade. He's not tiny anymore. Noah was probably just about 5 foot when he went into high school, and now he's like 6 foot.
I wrote this in my I had a little piece of paper that I wrote this on, and I was 5'1", 85 pounds first day of high school.
First day of high school. So there you
Yeah.
go. So yeah. So so that for me as a mom of a boy is very nerve wracking. And I was like, I mean, I knew that he had great friends and I knew that he was a pretty popular kid. So I didn't worry that he was going to get stuffed in a locker. But
Oh, I did. Yes. Okay. That's the problem with Hollywood these days is that small kids get stuffed in lockers. Like, that's simple.
yeah,
The amount of times that my friends told me to go into a locker just to see if I could fit,
which you did.
which I did,
Yeah,
that's different. They didn't
that's
lock me
different.
in.
You went in. That's right. And you went in intentionally. But so that was a little nerve wracking. And then it wasn't, I was worried like about your friends because I knew that your friends were your friends and they had always been your friends. But it's sometimes hard through high school to hold on to those friends.
Yeah, high school changes people.
It does. And so that was just something we kind of worked through and stuff, and it went really well because you did keep the same friends. And then you went to college, and then the big thing for me was I had always told you and Tabby, go away, go
Yeah.
somewhere else, do something with school, like be who you want to be, right?
Realistically, this whole concept now is your fault if we think about it.
Oh, I know. So I said, go out and be you.
Right.
And Noah took that to heart. And
I
I
did.
was pissed. I
You were.
was pissed.
You were pissed, but at the same time, the whole thing was it wasn't even necessarily just go be you. There's a world out there. Like, don't limit yourself to the world around you, like what you know. Like, go be someone and go make a name for yourself. And I knew that if I stayed back home, I wouldn't be able to do that.
That's right.
I mean, I'm a fairly outgoing person. I would have done that in my own ways, but I definitely wouldn't be who I am now 4 years later
Right.
had I not done that. And
Yep.
I'm not going to say that it was an easy transition. It was by
No.
far one of the
This was the
hardest
hardest one.
transitions. Yeah, it was the hardest one for sure. I mean, I live halfway across the country.
Yep.
It's not simple,
No.
but I think that it was necessary to figure out who I am as an individual, figuring out, the hard aspects, the easy aspects of my life, and ultimately to pursue the career that I want to pursue.
Yeah, I think so. When Noah decided that he was going to go away to college, we all made that adjustment. I mean, Tabby had done it first, and her being a girl was very different. But
She also was a little different story because she was a college athlete. She even though that obviously I'm not saying I didn't have challenges because it definitely did.
for sure,
And that's something else is like everybody goes through their own challenges. I'm not trying to take away,
Nope.
Anybody else's challenges by telling you guys the things that I've gone through, that we've
No.
gone through as a family. Everybody challenges are different. So I'm not trying to, as another disclaimer, say that mine are bigger than your guys's. But the same way with her is that like she being an athlete obviously had to adjust to those new teammates, the lifestyle, all that stuff.
yeah,
But she did already have a group of individuals that were going through similar situations as her.
For
So
sure.
I don't want to say that it was easier or harder. It just was different, and me going and two people that she went to high school with went with her.
Yeah,
So she at least knew those people.
Yeah.
I left and
anybody.
had no clue where I was.
Yeah.
I didn't know up from down.
no. So I think that the trip to Noah and I drove out to his university and to get him all his stuff there, and I think that like we've talked about that a couple of times, like how I handled that and how you handled that. And I was really grateful that we got to meet your roommates right then and there. And we set up your room and that, your dorm and all that stuff. And then that night you and I stayed at a hotel and you drove me to the airport. And I was not prepared for the emotions that I was going to feel with all of that.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to miss you and I knew that it was going to be hard, but I literally got into the airport and could not stop crying. And now that I think about it, it kind of it was a hard one. It was this it was just very, very emotional. Oh my gosh, he's actually going to be gone for the next however long. And you really not come home.
Yeah.
Right?
I
So,
mean, I come home probably once every 4 months.
yeah. And so I knew that, getting on that airplane, I knew that it was never going to be the same at home, right? At home. Our home life is never going to be the same. And that for me was very overwhelming. And it was something that I think and for you too, I mean, it was funny. I remember you saying, I don't cry, Mom, but when I got back to the hotel for a minute, I had my moment.
I had my moment, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is that I used to be, as we talked about earlier, I used to be a very emotional person. Like I felt my emotions strongly.
Right.
And then for years just didn't cry. Like nothing made me cry. And that in itself was enough to make me feel my emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. We both, I think there's that sense of loss.
Right.
Like there's, it's not,
it's just, different. It was terrifying. I mean, the hotel that we were in at the moment, like this, is a very small detail to the story, but it was in a large city, which where we come from, just not a thing. It doesn't exist. And so that in itself was the scary part. I was like, first of all, I just dropped her off at the airport. Secondly, I'm now in this large city where I have to drive through, at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Mind you, like terrifying. And
Yeah.
then like figure out where I'm then at in my college, find my dorm, figure out where to park, situate myself, get my room prepared, and then start school the next day. Like there were so many things that I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so forth that I now have to take care of. But mind you, the only thing that I know is no longer here. Like, here we go.
Yep.
So
Welcome to the world, Noah.
It sucks. You're gonna love it.
So yeah, so those are the biggest transitions. I think like now, they come more naturally.
Oh, 100%.
I think like this year you're starting your master's program, and that's more of a transition for you than me.
Yeah.
I've just gotten used to the idea that you're not home, and probably never will be again. In the sense of living at home. So who knows, that might change. But yeah, so those are kind of the transition periods that we've had and how we've handled them.
Yeah. And then within all those transition periods, obviously came a lot of
Different
stories, a lot of
challenges.
different challenges.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, again, I as upsetting as some of those challenges were and complicated, I'm beyond grateful for them because they shaped me as an individual.
Right.
And they helped shape our relationship as well. And again, the new ways that we communicate with each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What else
So
you got? Anything else you want to talk about?
that's really just kind of the introduction. I think I don't know that we would necessarily want to give too much right now because
Yeah.
that's kind of the whole point of the podcast is to dive deeper into different situations. So, but that's kind of the story of where we're at, and now here we are.
Yeah. I think that what we are trying to accomplish is, is first and foremost having fun, right? We want our listeners to enjoy, what we're talking about and stuff like that. But we also want it to be fun for us. And the thing is that, we want to be authentically ourselves, right? And so that's a huge important part of it. And, but I think it's also like just recognizing that every relationship is different. It doesn't matter what it is, every relationship is different between parents and their kids. And it doesn't matter what that looks like. It doesn't matter if, it doesn't matter at all. Like the relationship is the relationship. And for us, we're just saying that our relationship is a very, very close knitted one. And we have seen firsthand, both of us together and apart, parents and kids wish that their relationships were better and how they would love to be able to nurture those relationships. And so we just want people to know that it is possible and that, it's okay to have the conversations that you're afraid to have because the more you open up, the better you're going to feel about it, right? And so I think that that's really just all we're trying to do is just normalize those things. Just normalize the fact that a mother and son can talk about, I don't know, anything, anything,
Exactly.
literally.
And also like with that, it's not a matter of either person being perfect.
No.
It's a matter of caring enough for that other person in that relationship that you're willing to put in the time and effort to show your real self, to be authentic, to be true to yourself, to be true to them. And just if you care enough about them, maintain and build that relationship.
Yeah. I mean, I've made so many mistakes as a parent. Like, honestly, Noah has a cold, guys. So
I do. I'm sorry. I'm sniffling. I apologize.
It's all good. But I mean, I've made my mistakes, right? I mean, there's no parent that is perfect and there's no kid that's perfect, and we get really hard on ourselves when we do things wrong or we feel like we've done something wrong. But like really, like what I've learned from those mistakes that I've made is that there is a learning curve. Like I made a mistake, but I'm able to fix it, right? So it doesn't have to stay a mistake and it doesn't have to stay as tense. It can be, okay, wait, I made a mistake. I know how to apologize. I know how to admit when I'm wrong, right? I can do those things. And those become important because even though we are parents and we're the ones that are guiding our children into their lives and there's this discipline thing, I make mistakes. And I think we're going to do an episode about that. But
and you're still human.
Yep. And I'm a human being. But I know how to apologize.
Right. You might be that super large role model in your kids' eyes, but if you can't accept to yourself that you're human, and you can't admit to your kids that you're gonna mess up, that in my mind is more of a mistake than the actual mistake.
Yep. And you just have to learn from them.
Exactly. And the great thing about it is that you've been able to admit to us when you're wrong.
Yeah.
It might take a minute to realize that,
Yes.
okay, it's not the kid's fault. I messed up.
Right.
Because I don't know, a lot of times I feel like, especially if you look at, again, go back to Hollywood, go to movies. In almost every movie, it's always the kid's fault,
Yeah. That's true.
right? Like they show that the kid messed up, but nobody shows how they talk through it and how they get over it. It's
That's
just,
right.
you're a dumb A because you made a mistake. Okay, well,
You
what
can say
about?
ass, Noah. We
Okay,
don't mind.
well, I wasn't sure, but for our
I think I
listeners
said
out there,
fuck earlier.
oh, you might have, but it's just one of those things where, and I'm not gonna say at first that you also like admitted that you were wrong.
No, I learned that.
Yeah,
That was
you know,
learned. That was definitely learned. I was very authoritative when you were younger, and it was my way or the highway.
right.
And
Scary
I learned,
sometimes.
yeah. Um, but
She whispered that, so she said I'm still scared of her.
oh,
But
you didn't hear it.
well, just in case you couldn't hear it,
I got that. But it became more of I learned too.
right?
Like you were learning and I was learning. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, but I think that we'll get into all of that good stuff as we go along. But
Yeah,
so yeah, so
yeah, for sure.
I think that's probably gonna wrap it up, and we have a little closing thing.
Yeah.
As I close that.
So yeah, lastly, what we'll kind of go into is after our core conversation, we'll kind of do like a focus segment, to just kind of give me the space to ask questions if I want, or anything that I want to add, and then vice versa. I don't know.
I think
Just
that was a good one.
what?
I think that was a good one.
That
Better.
was that what we just did. That's all I got for you.
Hey.
Not much for me today, but
No, me either. So yeah. Yeah, I think we appreciate everybody listening.
oh yeah, we have one more thing that I'm, I guess, supposed to say.
Nothing is supposed to. You can do
Not
whatever you want.
supposed to, but for this episode, I'm gonna say because I need a closing statement. So
Go for it.
okay, so yes, my mom is my gentle anchor, but your gentle anchor can be anyone who offers you safety and understanding. What matters is normalizing the presence of someone in your life with whom you can be open and honest. So next time you feel the urge to share your voice, begin with the person who makes you feel heard.
Before I go into my closing, I love that I get to be that for you. Anyway, we appreciate you listening. Every voice needs a safe harbor. Until next time, stay anchored in connection.